What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Paul Brown here. Delighted to be joined today by Aaron Aby, who's preparing to fight Mohammed Walid at Oktagon 69 in just over a week's time. Aaron, how are you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
We're on the precipice of yet another fight. You've been quite active since your change over to fighting inside the Octagon cage. It's been a challenging kind of period, though. The results perhaps haven't been what you've been hoping for, but how are you feeling right now about your overall spell in Octagon so far, 4 fights in?
Uh, Again, a little bit disappointed with the results wise, truthfully. Uh, but overall, like I've enjoyed the experience. I feel like I'm improving. I'm developing. I've had tough fights. Obviously, fighting Zumagulov coming out of the UFC, fighting Sam Creasy, who was number one ranked in Europe at the time, and then like the Elias Garcia fight, I was dominated until the cut was stoppage, and then a win over Christopher Daniels. So maybe the results don't speak for the whole tell the whole story. In honesty, and I'm just again looking at this next fight now, and I'm looking to get back in that win column and put on another good performance. That's the aim.
Yeah, and with that next fight, I mean, Mohammed Walid, do you know much about the opponent? Have you watched a lot of them, or what can you tell me about him?
I haven't watched too much of him. I've watched bits of him. He's had a split decision loss to the now current flyweight champ Beno Adamir. So he's good. He's fought people like Max Holzer, who's the main event, and he trains with him now. So he's good. He's tough. He's quite well rounded. I don't think he's ever made the weight before. Like his last fight was at 63 kilogram. So he's going to be big and strong, and my only concern is that he doesn't make the weight. That's but I've just been trying to focus on me and what I'm going to do and what I'm going to bring to the table. Like I'm coming now. I've been in the game a long time, and I'll watch opponents a little bit, but it's about me implementing my game and how I can improve the little areas in my game in between fights.
Um, your training setup nowadays for these. I know you're running your own gym, which looks like a fantastic facility, and I presume that's going very, very well. I'm seeing that you've guys got a lot of fighters competing and things like that. So, what is your training setup? How has this camp looked?
Yeah, I'd like can use my gym. The body's developing in there now. Have been awesome, but every morning I'll either be down at Aspire in Liverpool with like Dean Garnett and Phil Turner, or I'll be in Northwest Fight Academy with Steve Nightingale and the guys there. And then in the night, I'm either training in my gym, doing my S&C and stuff. So I'm in the gym 7 days a week, training, coaching, doing everything, and just looking to add to my game. And as well, the bodies I work with now, they all understand who I am, my game, and we can all work with each other. Like Dean Garnett, I've done a lot of my camp with him. He signed to PFL and be fighting soon. So we just can work with each other and just help bring each other along.
Dean Garnett, a man like yourself who's been through some absolute wars over
Yeah.
the last while. The fight you mentioned, the last fight with Zumagulov, it was a pretty tough fight, obviously, and the first round in particular, it looked to be really coming on strong. But I think you did very well to kind of get through that round, and you showed your heart and your grit to maybe finish the fight strongly. What did that fight teach you?
I think going into that fight, I always knew it was going to be tough, and he was going to be a strong, explosive athlete, and he felt really strong in there. There was like a couple of times where I managed to get in like deep on a double leg, and I'll finish that on 99 times out of 100, and he managed to just like get away from me sometimes, and I feel like I maybe went into that fight a little bit too light in the prep. So I've looked to maintain a bit more size this fight, but there were some positives I took from it. Like you said, the first round was tough, and then I felt myself coming back into the fight, especially in the second round. I felt like I started getting his timing down, started reading what he was throwing and what he was looking to do. And then just like at the end of the second round, he managed to finish strong and take that round away from me. So then you're going into the third, instead of it being 1-1, it's 2-0, and then obviously it's hard to come back against experienced guys and pull something back out of the bag like that. But it also taught me like stuff I've known before, that I'll never quit, and I'll keep moving forward. And I feel like now I just have to make sure from the first minute I'm trying to win the fight, and not just like settle in too much into it.
You mentioned there like the size thing and whatnot. What have you done differently? Have you put size on, or are you just maybe keeping yourself at a natural sort of a heavier weight, or leaving your cut to go a bit later or whatever?
To be honest, a bit of both. Like I always speak about this. I think like after chemotherapy, like I've spoke about this times before. I went down to 52 kilogram. So I was walking around, 52 kg, which is really light. And I remember my first fight back, I actually weighed in at like 56 kilogram on a full breakfast. Like, drove to the weigh-ins myself with my dog, weighed in, and my opponent ended up missing weight that fight. So ever since then, it's been like a growth of trying to like put on weight, get a bit bigger, get a bit stronger, and every year I seem to do that. But it's hard to do it properly. Like I could just eat a load of crap and stuff and not put on good weight. So I've been trying to do it properly, focusing on my strength and conditioning. Every fight I do that a little bit more, and then this camp I've tried to keep my weight higher a bit longer, and then started bringing it down later in camp and seeing if that's going to help.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously the vast majority of fighters in the sport are kind of coming down from a much higher, they're trying to cut as much as possible and come down and then maybe replenish as much as they can. Whereas you're sort of looking at it from the opposite side of that sort of spectrum, which is an interesting thing. And you mentioned there about your opponent not having really made flyweight. Has he made actual flyweight at all yet?
Not that I've seen. From the fights I've watched, like I think the one against Adamir was at 59. His last fight was at 63 kilogram. And I think his ones before that were at bantamweight and one at featherweight. If so, again, it's his job to make the weight and perform the next day. So I've tried not to like let that be on my mind too much. Just focus on my job and what I need to do this fight, and go from there. But that was like the concern for me when they offered me the fight, was if he would actually be able to make the weight. He's a big guy. He's got big legs. Uh, so it's going to be a job for him to make it for sure.
There's a flip side to that as well, though. I mean, obviously, if a fighter really, really struggles to make the weight and, they eventually get there or get as close as possible to it, that can kind of deplete a lot of the things that they bring to the table too. And I mean, that can probably affect your game planning then, because, but you can go out there and try to put it on an opponent who has probably had to really battle to make that weight. Surely that's going to come into it too.
Yeah, 100%. It's always been like part of my game is to push the pace. I'm fit. I've like, been in sport for a long time, and I can always push the pace. I don't really gas, so it's always part of my plan anyway. And I do feel like as I'm getting stronger, and that has helped my style of grinding away at people. And being able to chip away at them. And that was one of the most maybe disappointing things from the Sam Creasy fight. I didn't like push my pace. Sam's very good at like slowing the pace down of the fight, and I felt like I just played into his hands a bit too much. Like both of us at the end of the 5 rounds could have done more. We could have done another 5 more rounds, and I feel like in Sam's last fight against Adamir, he'd probably say the same. That fight from both guys. So it's important that I push my pace on this guy, whether he's done a tough weight cut or not, because that's always going to play into my hands and my style. Like, you can have all the cardio in the world, but if you fight at a slow pace, there's no point in having it. So you need to be able to impose that style on other people.
Have you thought much about what the rest of 2025 looks? I mean, obviously you've got a fight on the horizon here, and often fighters don't read past that. But you thought about the bigger picture. I mean, you get your hand raised next week against Walid. Do you know what route you want to go next, or where, what the rest of the year looks like?
You always have like how you want it to look and how you want it to play out. For me, like I don't want to think past Mohammed Walid, but I just I want to be active. I know in this flyweight division, you're always one or two fights away from a title shot. I think I'm still ranked number 3 in the flyweight division, but I also understand I'm on the back of 2 losses. So I'm in that like tipping point, if you would like to say right now. And if I look past Mohammed, you could end up being on a 3-fight skid, or you're back in the win column and you're knocking on the door for the flyweight title. But that's why I just got to focus on this job at hand at the moment. I would like to be more active. I don't like 6 months in between fights. I know I'm at the back end of my career now. 6 7 months to me could be like 25 30% of the rest of my fighting career gone out the window. So I would like to get this fight and get one booked straight away. That's what I would like to happen. And like I said, depending on the result, depends on what you're looking at for your next fight.
Well, look, the first installment of that remainder of your career kicks off next week. Thanks for your time today, brother, and the very, very best of luck at Octagon 69.
No worries, thanks, Paul.
Cheers.